Hello students, in our previous lecture we are studied how to search for required information, that is how to prepare a final accounts and how to find out the items related to respective accounts. Okay, so here in our previous lecture we are studied a preparation of final accounts and items related to final accounts, and where to find it out is studied in our previous lecture. Okay, in our today's lecture we are going to discuss the finding out missing information. Okay, so in our today's lecture we are study the missing figures or missing amounts, how to find out a missing amounts or how to prepare a working note for finding out a missing figures for preparing the financial statements of the organization. So here first, a credit sales or closing balance of debtor. Okay, in our previous lecture we are studied credit sales is add in cash sales. Okay, we get a total sales of the business organization and that sales is transferred to the trading account credit side. Okay, but sometime the credit sales is not given in the problem, then we have to find out the credit sales by preparing the total debtors account, or sometime the closing balance of debtors are not given in the problem, so we prepare a ledger accounts to find out a closing balance of debtors or credit sales of the business organization. B part is given here, or B point, bills receivable. Here we also find out a closing balance of bills receivable or cash received from debtors. Okay, with the help of bills receivable account or preparing the bills receivable account. So bills receivable account is prepared to know the closing balance and cash received. Okay, cash received during the year. Okay, or bills received during the year is find out with the help of the bills receivable account. C point, credit purchase or closing balance of creditors. Credit purchase and closing or closing balance of creditors. If credit purchase is not given in the problem, then we find out the amount of credit purchase. If credit purchase is given in the problem but closing balance of creditor is not given in the problem, then we find out the closing balance of creditor. Sometimes closing balance of creditor is given but credit purchase figure is not given in the problem, then we find out the credit purchase of the organization. Sometimes credit purchase or amount of credit purchase is given in the problem but closing balance of creditors is not given in the problem, so we find out the missing figure, that is closing balance of creditors or closing balance of creditors and credit purchase of the organization. Okay, so with the help of creditors account we find out both the figures. Okay, credit purchase as well as closing balance of creditor. Okay, next one is bills payable. Okay, so bills payable account is prepared to know the closing balance of bills payable or closing balance of bills payable and bill accepted. Okay, to find out the bill accepted during the year. Okay, so we prepare the bills payable account to know the closing balance of bills payable. If the closing balance of bills payable is given in the problem, then we find out the bills payable accepted during the year. Okay, next one is cash and bank balance, either at the beginning or at the end. Okay, so we also study how to find out the cash or bank balance either at beginning or at the end. Okay, so in cash book, the opening balance of cash and bank balance is given, and also a closing balance of cash and bank is given in the cash book. If it is not given, if cash book is not given, then opening balance of cash and bank is given to you in opening statement of affairs. Okay, and we find out the closing balance of cash at bank with the help of preparing cash book of the concern. Okay, next one is opening capital. So opening capital is given in opening statement of affairs, that is opening balance sheet of the organization. If opening balance of or opening capital is not given, or opening statement of affairs is not given, then we have to prepare a opening balance sheet of the organization and only transfer the opening balance of assets to asset side and opening balance of liability to liability side, and we find out the difference on liability side. That difference is called opening capital of the organization or that concern. So here, how to find out or how to prepare a working notes and how to find out a balances or missing figures is given here. So first, finding out. Okay, so here we first start finding out credit sales or closing balance of debtors. Okay, here remember this: either credit sale or closing balance of debtors or opening balance of debtors or cash received will be missing. Another or the all items are not missing. Okay, only one item is missing, and that item or that amount will be find out by preparing the total debtors account. Okay, so here we write it here, that note is given here: either credit sale or closing balance of debtors or opening debtors or cash received will be missing. Okay, only one item or only one balance is missing. Only that item or that balance is find out by preparing the total debtors account. Okay, so all information is not missing. Okay, only one item is missing, and that item should be find out by preparing a working note, that is total debtors account. So here, finding out credit sales or closing balance of debtors or opening balance of debtors or cash received, okay, from preparing the total debtors account. Here, a total debtors account is to be prepared to find out either the missing credit sales or closing balance of debtors. Sometimes opening balance is missing, cash received from debtor is also missing. So we find out there's all the figures or that all the items with the help of preparing the total debtors account. So here, total debtors account is prepared, and the format of total debtors account is given here: total debtors account, debit side and credit side. On debit side and credit side, which items should be transfer is given here. Okay, so on the debit side, first of all, we transfer the opening balance of debtors. Okay, opening balance of debtors, because debtors is our assets and assets always have a debit balance. So opening balance of debtors is transferred to the debit side of debtors account. Okay, whatever the amount. Okay, next one is to credit sales. Okay, credit sales if given in the problem. If not given, then balancing figure is credit sales. Okay, so credit sale is transferred to the debit side of profit, sorry, debtors account. The entry will be debtors account debit to credit sales or to sales, that is the goods sale to a particular person and the cash is not immediately received. For example, we sold a goods to xyz, then the entry will be we sold a goods to the xyz on credit, so entry will be xyz account debit to sales being credit sales, or narration is given to being credit sales. So we transfer the credit sales on to the debit side of debtors, that is debtors is a personal account. Okay, so credit sales, if credit sales is given in the problem, then we transfer it to the debit side. If not given, then the balancing figure. Okay, so here the balancing figure, if not given, the balancing figure is our credit sales. Okay, if given then transfer, if not given, the balancing figure is our sales. To bills receivable dishonored, sometimes the bills receivable during the year are dishonored, and that dishonored bills are to be transferred to the debit side of the debtors account, and also a second effect is given to the bills receivable credit side by debtors account, that is bills dishonored. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so here by sundry debtor bill return dishonored. Okay, cross entry or cross effect will be given to the respective accounts. So here, if bill dishonored, received bill is dishonored, then its entry will be the debtors account debit to bills receivable into bracket bill dishonored. Okay, and that dishonored effect are also given to the our second account, that is bills receivable account. So here you remember that when we preparing or when we converting the single entry into double entry, each and every transaction has dual aspect. Okay, so here credit sales is transfer, here it is also affected on the trading account. Bills receivable, it is also affected on the debtors as well as bills receivable account. Okay, so each and every transaction has dual aspect or dual effect in double entry system. So these all are transferred to the debit side of total debtors account. Okay, now we are going to discuss the credit side of total debtors account, how and how the entries will be made if cash received from debtors. Okay, if cash received from debtors, cash received means cash account debit to debtors account. We received a cash and that cash is given to you in your problem on the receipt side of cash. Okay, receipt side of cash book. So we give a effect of that cash received on the debit side, sorry, on the credit side of the debtors account, that is cash received from debtors, cash account debit to debtors account, and that cash is given to you on the receipt side of cash book. Okay, next one is bills receivable received during the year. Okay, so bills receivable received during the year is also transferred to the credit side, because the entry is what we received is debit, and those person who give us the bills is credited, that is bills receivable account debit to debtors account. Okay, so here entry will be bills receivable account debit to debtors account. The same effect will be on the debit side of bills receivable here. Okay, so here if given, then it is transfer. If not given, then the balancing figure is bills accepted or bills received, sorry, bills received during the year. If given, if not given, the balancing figure is bills accepted during the year, and that entry will be. Okay, so here the dual effect is given if the bills received during the year, as well as return inward. Okay, by return inward, if return inward is given in the problem, then it is transferred to the credit side of debtors account. Then by discount allowed to the debtors, okay, discount allowed to the debtors, then it is also a transfer to the credit side, because discount is our loss. The entry will be discount account debit to the debtors account. Okay, discount allowed. Okay, so discount is also transferred to the credit side of total debtors account. Bad debt is also transferred to the credit side of debtors account by transfer to creditors. Okay, so here some amount or some figures or some amount is transferred to the creditors. So creditors account debit to debtors account, because the money is transferred from debtors to the creditors. The creditor is a receiver, and that receiver is always on debit side, that is debit creditors account to debtors account. So second effect on the account of creditors on debit side, that is to transfer from debtors. Okay, so here, okay, so cross or dual effect is given here. Okay, next one is by balance, that is closing. Okay, either closing balance is given or not. If given, then it is transfer. If not given, then the balancing figure is our closing balance of debtors. Here remember this note says that either credit sales or closing balance or debtors or opening debtors or cash received will be missing, and not all. It means only one items are missing. All items given here are not missing. Okay, so only one item missing. That missing item should be find out with the help of preparing the working note of total debtors account. So remember where to transfer the uh, transactions related to debtors account and make the journal entry. Okay, all the this transaction is related to debtors and bills receivable. Okay, so bills receivable, if we make a entry related to bills receivable on debtors, then it's also affected on the bills receivable account, that is shown in here. Okay, so bills accepted, sorry, bills received, if given. Okay, so entry will be on the credit side. If bill dishonored, okay, here bill dishonored, the effect of that bills dishonored is also affected on bills receivable account on credit side. Okay, next, here also opening balance. So bills receivable is our current asset, so opening balance of bills receivable is transferred to the debit side of bills receivable account. Okay, debit side of bills receivable account. Okay, and closing balance is transferred to the credit side of bills receivable account. Okay, so remember, if both the balances is given, there is no any matter to transfer these amounts. Okay, so opening balance is given, transfer. Closing balance is given, transfer. If closing balance is not given, then the closing balance of bills receivable will be find out with the help of preparing bills receivable account. And how to find out the balancing figure of closing balance is the closing bills receivable. Okay, sometime we find out the bills received during the year, that means we give a opening and closing balance of bills receivable and find out the bills received from debtors during the year. Okay, as well as cash received against bills are given on the cash book receipt side, so it is also transferred to the bills receivable credit side. Okay, cash account debit to bills receivable, and the entry will be posted to respective accounts. Okay, first effect, that is cash book, one effect is given, and second effect on the credit side of bills receivable, that is cash received. Then we make the total of debit and credit and find out the missing item. So here, if the bills received from debtors is missing, the difference is on the debit side, and that difference is called sundry debtors, bills received from debtors. If the difference on the credit side, then that difference is called closing balance of bills receivable balancing figure. Okay, if not given. Next one is C. Finding out credit purchase or closing creditors. Total creditors account is to be prepared in same manner as to total debtors account to ascertain credit purchases, opening or closing balances of creditors, or cash paid to them. Okay, it means cash paid to creditors or bills accepted during the year. Okay, so same account is prepared here uh, as the same manner of total debtors account. Okay, but here total creditor is our liability. Okay, so first, opening balance of total creditor is transfer to the credit side of creditors account, because the creditor is our liability and liability has always credit balance, so opening balance of creditor is transferred to the credit side of creditors account. Okay, so here opening balance is transferred, then we transfer the items given in the problem, that is cash paid to the creditors, and that cash paid to the creditors is given in your problem on the payment side of cash book. Okay, so cash book, so one effect is given to the cash book and second effect is given to the debit side of creditors account, that is cash paid to creditors. The entry will be creditors account debit to cash. Okay, cash paid to creditors, so we make a posting to one account, that is cash account, and second effect is given to the creditors account debit side, that is to cash paid to creditors. Next one is given here, two bills payable accepted. Okay, so in the current year the bills accepted is given in the problem, then these are transferred to the debit side of creditors account, and the entry will be the creditors account debit to bills payable, that is bills accepted during the year. If not given, then the balancing figure is our bills payable accepted during the year. Discount received. Okay, discount received is our gain, so entry will be creditors account debit to discount being discount received, and that discount is shown on the problem in cash book or in other information. Okay, so discount received is given to you on other information or in adjustment. Okay, so this information, the discount is our gain, and the entry will be the creditors account debit to discount received, and that discount is transferred to the debit side of creditors account. Return outward. Okay, return outward is transferred to the debit side of creditors account. Here same as it is, we return inward is transferred to the credit side. Okay, so here, so return outward is transferred to debit side of creditors. Okay, debit side of creditors. Okay, so remember this, we exactly preparing the creditors account against or opposite to the debtors account. Okay, discount received on the debit side, discount allowed on the credit side of debtors. Okay, so here remember this. Then we find out the credit purchase or bills payable dishonored. Okay, bills payable dishonored is given to you in additional information, and this is transferred to the credit side of creditors account, and second effect on the debit side of bills payable account, that is bills payable dishonored during the year. Okay, so we always make a double effect of each and every transactions. So here two points are remaining to discuss: by credit purchase or to closing balance of creditor. So remember this, only one item is missing, not all items are missing. Okay, only one items are missing, and that items are find out with the help of preparing these working notes. So if the closing balance is missing, then credit purchase is given to you in your problem. Okay, credit purchase is given to you in your problem. If closing balance is given in the problem, if closing balance of creditors is given in the problem, then the we find out the credit purchase of the organization. Okay, so here only one item is missing, but for your understanding we write it the both items. Okay, so here in bracket we write it either given or balancing figure, either given or balancing figure. Here also write it either given or balancing figure. Okay, if closing balance given, then we find out a credit purchase. If credit purchase is given, then we find out a closing balance of creditors. Same as it is, working note is same, or note is very important or same. The either credit sale or closing balance of debtors or opening debtors same, but here not debtors, here creditors. Okay, change this, creditors, closing balance of creditors. Okay, or cash paid. Okay, cash paid to creditors, not received. Okay, here credit, not credit sales, credit purchases. Okay, credit purchases, these items are find out only one item is missing, not all items are missing. Okay, now we are going to discuss to find out the bills payable or cash paid. Okay, so bills payable account are to be prepared to find out opening or closing balance of bills payable or cash paid to creditors on account. So this account is prepared to know the opening or closing balance and cash paid to the creditors. So first we transfer the entries, or we posted the entries which is related to creditors account. So here to sundry debtors, because bill dishonored, here we also transfer the, or the entry will be bills payable account debit to creditors account, because our narration is being bill discounted dishonored. Okay, so the second effect is given on the debit side of the bills payable account. Okay, Now we are transfer all the amounts related, all the transactions or all the transactions which is related to bills payable account, that is cash paid to creditors. Okay, cash paid to creditors is given to you on the your problem. Okay, so cash paid to creditors is given to you on the payment side or in additional information. First of all, we transfer the opening balance, and bills payable is always our liability. So liability have credit balance. The opening balance of liability is transferred to the credit side of that particular account. So bills payable account opening balance is transferred, closing balance is transferred to the debit side of the bills payable account if given. If not given, then balancing figure is our closing balance of bills payable. Okay, then by sundry creditors, that means the bills accepted if given. If bill accepted during the year is given in the problem, then it is transferred to the bills payable account, or the entry will be the sundry creditors account debit to bills payable being bills accepted during the year. If not given, then the balancing figure or the difference on the credit side of bills payable account is called the sundry creditors bills accepted during the year, and the difference on the debit side of the bills payable account is that difference is called the closing stock closing closing balance closing balance of bills payable, and that closing balance of bills payable is transferred to the closing balance sheet liability side. Okay, so here only one item is missing, not at all items are missing. Okay, so remember this, only find out the bills accepted or closing balance of bills payable. Only one item is missing from these two. Okay, either sundry creditors bill accepted or either closing balance of bills payable. Okay, so we prepare these four accounts, or these four accounts is the also prepare in our working note. First of all, we prepare this working note, find out the missing balances, then we go to prepare a final accounts of the organization, and that account is called trading account, profit and loss account, and closing balance sheet. Next one, how to find out the cash and bank balance of the concern is given here. A receipt and payments account should be prepared in column form if necessary to ascertain either opening or closing balances of cash in hand and cash with bank. Sometimes opening cash balance is not given expressly, which should be taken from opening statement of affairs. So here, if the opening cash balance or bank balance is not given in the problem, then it will be given to you in opening statement of affairs. Okay, opening statement of affairs, we get a in opening statement of affairs we get a opening cash balance of the organization. Okay, if the opening and closing balance of cash book is not given, then we prepare a cash book, and we transfer the transactions related to cash book, and then we find out the closing balance of cash and bank. Okay, if the cash book is not given, we prepare a cash book to find out a closing balance of cash, but opening cash is given to you in your opening statement of affairs. That is, when we write a opening assets on opening balance sheet on asset side, then we write a cash or bank balance opening. That opening cash is our opening balance of cash book. Okay, and then we find out the closing balance of cash book with the help of preparing cash account or cash book account. Next one is finding out the opening capital. Okay, opening capital. How to find out opening capital? So very easy to find out the opening capital of the organization. An opening statement of affairs or opening balance sheet should be prepared to ascertain the opening balance of capital, without which closing balance sheet cannot be prepared. Without opening balance of capital or opening capital, we cannot prepare a closing balance sheet of the concern. So here opening capital is very important for preparing a closing balance sheet. So opening capital is find out by preparing opening statement of affairs, and in opening statement of affairs we transfer the opening balances of all assets to the asset side and opening balances of liabilities to the liability side of opening balance sheet or statement of affairs. Okay, so remember this, how to find out the missing items. We study all the working notes prepared for finding out the missing figures or missing amounts. Okay, so here बघा, यामध्ये आपण काय पाहिलं तर मिसिंग आयटम्स की आपण प्रोसिजर पाहिली किंवा प्रोसेस पाहिली. ओके, प्रोसेस काय आहे सिंगल एंट्रीचं डबल एंट्रीमध्ये कन्वर्ट करण्याची, तर त्यामध्ये आपण दोन प्रोसेस पाहिल्या. एक म्हणजे बाय preparing a journal, then posting, then we prepare first of all we prepare journal, then we prepare ledger, then we make a balancing, then we prepare a trial balance, and with the help of trial balance we prepare a financial statements of the organization. But here in second process we study second process, that is directly we open the final accounts by preparing some working notes. So here we prepare this 6 working note to find out the missing balances. ओके, मित्र आपल्याला 6 अकाउंट्स ओपन करावी लागणार आहेत. त्या 6 अकाउंट्स वरून जे काही आयटम मिसिंग असतील ते आपण शोधणार आणि त्याच्यानंतर आपण काय करणार आहे तर आपण फायनल अकाउंट तयार करणार आहे. मग त्यामध्ये आपण पाहिलं की क्रेडिट सेल कशी शोधायची किंवा क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स डेटरचा कसा शोधायचा, तर त्यामध्ये सांगितलेलं आहे की क्रेडिट सेल्स, क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स, त्याचबरोबर ओपनिंग बॅलन्ससुद्धा कधी मिसिंग असू शकतो. त्याचबरोबर कॅश डेटरकडून किती रिसिव्ड झालेले आहेत ते सुद्धा मिसिंग असू शकतं. तर हे सर्व आयटम, हे सर्व मिसिंग आयटम आपण कशावरून शोधू शकतो तर डेटर्स अकाउंटवरून शोधू शकतो. आता इथं आपण पाहिलं की जे आपण आयटम इथं आता अभ्यासतोय त्यामध्ये फक्त एकच आयटम तुम्हाला काय केला, तो मिसिंग आहे असं सांगितलं जात नाही, परंतु मिसिंग आहे. तो मिसिंग आयटम आपल्याला शोधावा लागतो, परंतु शोधताना किती शोधावा लागतो तर एकच. मग तुम्हाला कधी डेटर्सची क्लोजिंग अमाऊंट दिली जात नाही तर ती शोधावी लागेल, कधी क्रेडिट सेल्स दिला जात नाही तर ती शोधावी लागेल. म्हणजे जर क्रेडिट सेल्स शोधायचे असेल तर तुम्हाला क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स डेटर्सचा दिला जातो. जर तुम्हाला डेटर्सचा क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स दिला असेल तर क्रेडिट सेल्स शोधावी लागते. जर तुम्हाला डेटर्सचा क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स दिला, क्रेडिट सेल्स दिली तर ओपनिंग बॅलन्स आपल्याला शोधावा लागतो. ओके, जर तुम्हाला ओपनिंग बॅलन्स सुद्धा डेटर्सचा दिला असेल, क्रेडिट सेल्स सुद्धा दिली असेल, त्याचबरोबर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स डेटर्सचा दिला असेल तर आपल्याला शोधावी लागेल ते डेटर्सकडून किती कॅश आपल्याला चालू वर्षी रिसिव्ड झाली ती शोधावी लागेल. ती सुद्धा आपण कशी शोधू शकतो तर टोटल डेटर्स अकाउंट प्रिपेअर करून. आता इथं आपण एक फॉर्मॅट घेतलेला आहे टोटल डेटर्स अकाउंटचा. आता टोटल डेटर्स अकाउंटला कोणकोणते आयटम ट्रान्सफर होतात किंवा कसे होतात, का होतात ते आपण इथं पाहिलं. की पहिल्यांदा आता टोटल डेटर्स अकाउंट आहे, मग टोटल डेटर्स अकाउंटला तुमच्या प्रॉब्लेममध्ये तुम्हाला ओपनिंग आणि क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स दिला असेल तर पहिल्यांदा आपण तो ट्रान्सफर करून घेतो. ओके सर, ओपनिंग बॅलन्स हा डेटर अकाउंटच्या जातो डेबिटला, तर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स हा डेटर अकाउंटच्या क्रेडिटला जातो. ओके, जर दिला असेल तर ट्रान्सफर होईल, ओपनिंग बॅलन्स दिला असेल तर टोटल डेटर्सच्या डेबिटला जाईल. ओके, का तर डेटर्स ही आपली करंट ॲसेट आहे, ॲसेटचा ऑलवेज आपला कोणता बॅलन्स असतो, डेबिट बॅलन्स असतो, त्यामुळे ओपनिंग बॅलन्स हा डेटर्स अकाउंटच्या डेबिटला जाईल आणि क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स हा आपला क्रेडिटला जाईल. ओके, त्याचबरोबर आपण पाहिलं की चालू वर्षी काही कॅश रिसिव्ड झाली असेल, ओके, कुणाकडून, डेटर्सकडून, ही कुठं दिली जाते तर कॅश रिसिव्ड फ्रॉम डेटर्स इज गिवन टू यू इन युअर कॅश बुक ऑन द रिसिप्ट साइड ऑफ कॅश. ओके, रिसिप्ट साईडला तुम्हाला दिली जाते की एवढी कॅश रिसिव्ड फ्रॉम डेटर्स आहे. ओके, मग कॅश रिसिव्ड आहे, मग एंट्री काय होते की कॅश आली, कॅश मिळाली, कॅश अकाउंट डेबिट. ओके ओके, कॅश अकाउंट डेबिट, डेबिट वॉट कम्स इन, डेबिट वॉट कम्स इन, जे आपल्याकडे येतं आहे त्याला डेबिट द्या. मग ही काय आहे, कॅश ॲसेट आहे. रिअल अकाउंटचा नियम इथं लागू होतो, तो म्हणजे काय, डेबिट वॉट कम्स इन, म्हणजे कॅश मिळाली. आता डेटर्स हा काय आहे, पर्सनल अकाउंट आहे, मग पर्सनल अकाउंटचा नियम काय सांगतो, डेबिट द रिसिव्हर, क्रेडिट द गिव्हर. डेटर्स आपल्याला काय करतोय, कॅश देतोय म्हटल्यानंतर त्याला काय जाणार आहे, क्रेडिट जाणार आहे. आपण पाहिलं आहे, हे नियम तुम्हाला माहीत असतील. मग एंट्री काय होते आपली तर कॅश अकाउंट डेबिट टू डेटर्स अकाउंट. बघा, मग कॅश बुकच्या तुमच्या पेमेंट साईडला, रिसिप्ट साईडला तुमची कॅशची एंट्री झालेली असते, परंतु दुसरा इफेक्ट झालेला नसतो. तो दुसरा इफेक्ट कुठे होईल तर डेटर्स अकाउंटच्या क्रेडिटला होईल बाय कॅश रिसिव्ड फ्रॉम डेटर्स. ओके, त्याचबरोबर बिल्स रिसिवेबल चालू वर्षी रिसिव्ड असतील तर बिल्स रिसिवेबलचे इफेक्ट तुम्हाला द्यावे लागतील. बघा, आता डेटर्सच्या क्रेडिटरला तुम्ही बिल्स रिसिवेबल लिहिलं आहे, तर बिल्स रिसिवेबलच्या डेबिटला तुमचा क्रॉस एंट्री किंवा क्रॉस इफेक्ट त्याचा होणार आहे डेबिट साईडला, की टू डेटर्स अकाउंट जी काय अमाऊंट असेल तेवढं आम्हाला बिल मिळालं. बाय रिटर्न इनवर्ड, ओके, रिटर्न इनवर्ड डेटर्सच्या क्रेडिटला जाईल. ओके, डिस्काउंट अलाउड, डिस्काउंट दिला असेल डेटर्सला तरी तो डेबिटला जाईल. आता हे सर्व काय आहे तर डेटर्सला मिळणारे फायदे आहेत, परंतु ते बिझनेस कन्सर्नच्या दृष्टीतून काय असणार आहेत, लॉस असणार आहे. ओके, म्हणून ते एंट्री काय होते तर त्या नियमाप्रमाणे केली जाते आणि त्याचं पोस्टिंग इथं केलेलं आहे. ओके, आता ह्याचं मी पोस्टिंग किंवा एंट्री तुम्हाला सांगणार नाही, काय आयटम कसे आले त्याचं एक्सप्लेनेशन मी सांगितलं, तुम्ही ते समजून घ्या. ओके, त्यानंतर इथं नोट तुम्हाला महत्त्वाची सांगितली, ती म्हणजे काय, तुम्हाला या 4 आयटमपैकी एक आयटम मच मिसिंग दिला जाईल किंवा मिसिंग असेल तोच शोधायचा आहे, सर्व आयटम मिसिंग राहणार नाहीत. त्यानंतर बिल्स रिसिवेबल अकाउंट आपण पाहिलं, बिल्स रिसिवेबलला सुद्धा ओपनिंग क्लोजिंग द्यावं लागेल. बिल्स रिसिवेबल सुद्धा आपली ॲसेट आहे, करंट ॲसेट, त्यामुळे ओपनिंग जाईल डेबिटला, क्लोजिंग जाईल क्रेडिटला. ओके, सेम ॲज इट इज डेटरला ज्या एंट्रीज होतात त्याच एंट्री इथं होतील, पण त्या कशाशी रिलेटेड असल्या पाहिजेत, बिल्स रिसिवेबलशी. ओके, बिल्स रिसिवेबलशी असणाऱ्या रिलेटेड असणाऱ्या सर्व एंट्रीज किंवा ट्रान्झॅक्शन्सचं इथं पोस्टिंग होईल. त्यानंतर आपण पाहिलं की टोटल क्रेडिटर्स अकाउंट आपण पाहिलं. ओके, टोटल क्रेडिटर्स अकाउंट सेम ॲज इट इज डेटर्स अकाउंटसारखं आहे, परंतु डेटर्स अकाउंटच्या ॲपोजिट त्याचं काय केलं जातं तर प्रिपरेशन केलं जातं किंवा त्याचे ट्रान्झॅक्शनचे इफेक्ट होतात. बरोबर, मग त्यामध्ये आता बघा, ओपनिंग आणि क्लोजिंग, क्रेडिटर्सचा ओपनिंग आणि क्लोजिंग कुठं द्यायचा असतो तर बघा, क्रेडिटर ही आपली आहे लायबिलिटी. बरोबर, मग लायबिलिटीचा बॅलन्स आपला कोणता असतो तर क्रेडिट असतो. मग क्रेडिटर्सचा ओपनिंग बॅलन्स हा क्रेडिटर्स अकाउंटच्या क्रेडिटला लिहावा लागतो. ओके, सो हिअर आपण तो लिहिलेला आहे. ओके, आणि क्लोजिंग असेल तर तो कुठे जाईल तर क्रेडिटर्सच्या डेबिटला जाईल. ओके ओके, इथं लिहिलेलं आहे आपण. ओके, दाखवलेलं आहे इथं. ओके, मी रेड करतो तरी सुद्धा, जर दिला असेल तर लिहा, नसेल तर बॅलन्सिंग फिगर येईल. ओके, मग आता तुम्हाला इथं क्रेडिट परचेस दिलं जाईल तुमच्या प्रॉब्लेममध्ये. क्रेडिट परचेस असेल तर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शोधावा लागेल. जर क्रेडिट परचेस प्रॉब्लेममध्ये दिलं तर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स क्रेडिटरचा शोधावा लागेल. ओके, फक्त एक आयटम त्यामध्ये काय असतो, मिसिंग असतो. त्याचबरोबर आपण बिल्स पेएबल पाहिलं. बिल्स पेएबलला सुद्धा क्रेडिटर्स सारखेच आपल्याला एंट्रीज करावे लागतात आणि क्रेडिटर्सच्या ज्या रिलेटेड एंट्री असतील त्याचं पोस्टिंग मात्र इथं होईल. बघा, बिल्स पेएबलचा ओपनिंग बॅलन्स सुद्धा क्रेडिटला जाईल, क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स डेबिटला जाईल. ओके, त्याचबरोबर आपल्याला काय शोधायचं असतं, एक तर बिल किती ॲक्सेप्ट केली आपण ते तरी, किंवा क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स बिल्स पेएबलचा काय आहे ते तरी आपल्याला काय करावं लागतं, शोधावं लागतं. ओके, तर त्यानुसार आपण ते अकाउंट प्रिपेअर करणार आहे. त्यानंतर आपण पाहिलं की कॅश आणि बँक बॅलन्स कशी शोधायची. जर कॅश बुक तुम्हाला दिलं नसेल तर ओपनिंग बॅलन्स ऑफ कॅश बुक हे कुठं दिलं जाईल, तर ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेअर्सला तुम्हाला दिलं जाईल. फक्त राहिली काय, तर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स आपल्याला शोधावा लागेल. मग क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स कसा शोधणार, तर क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शोधण्यासाठी आपल्याला कॅशबुक प्रिपेअर करावं लागेल. ओके, आणि जे काही ट्रान्झॅक्शन कॅश बुकशी रिलेटेड आहेत ते सर्व ट्रान्झॅक्शन्सच्या इफेक्ट आपण त्या बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंटला दिली की आपल्याला क्लोजिंग कॅश बुक काय होऊन जाईल, क्लोजिंग कॅश बॅलन्स आपल्याला मिळून जाणार आहे. त्याचबरोबर आपण पाहिलं की ओपनिंग कॅपिटल. आता इथं काय सांगितलेलं आहे, किंवा ओपनिंग कॅपिटल जर नसेल तर आपण क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शीट टॅली करू शकणार नाही किंवा क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शीट प्रिपेअर होणार नाही. प्रिपेअर जरी केली तरी ती टॅली होणार नाही. ओके, सो इथं ओपनिंग कॅपिटल महत्त्वाचं आहे. जर ओपनिंग कॅपिटल तुम्हाला प्रॉब्लेममध्ये दिलं असेल तर काहीच अडचण राहणार नाही. जर ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अफेअर्स दिलं नसेल तर आपल्याला ओपनिंग कॅपिटल शोधावं लागेल. ओपनिंग कॅपिटल कसं शोधायचं, तर तुम्हाला ओपनिंग बॅलन्स दिल्या जातात सर्व ॲसेटच्या आणि ओपनिंग बॅलन्स तुम्हाला दिल्या जातात लायबिलिटीच्या. त्या ओपनिंग लायबिलिटी जातील ओपनिंग बॅलन्स शीटच्या लायबिलिटी साईडला. ओके, आणि ओपनिंग ॲसेट्सचे अमाऊंट जे असेल ती ॲसेट साईडला ट्रान्सफर करून आपण काय करणार आहे, तर डिफरन्स काढणार आहे. आणि डिफरन्स लायबिलिटी साईडला येईल आणि त्या डिफरन्सला नाव देणार आहे आपण ओपनिंग कॅपिटल. ते ओपनिंग कॅपिटल आपण तिथून उचलून क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शीटच्या लायबिलिटी साईडला लिहिणार आहे. मग त्या क्लोजिंग बॅलन्स शीटच्या लायबिलिटीला इनर कॉलमला लिहिल्यानंतर चालू वर्षी ओपनिंग कॅपिटलमध्ये काय ॲडिशन असेल तर ते ॲड होईल. चालू वर्षी तुम्हाला प्रॉफिट झाला असेल तर तो ॲड होईल, लॉस झाला असेल तर तो डिडक्ट होईल. चालू वर्षी जर ड्रॉइंग असेल तुमचं तर ते लेस होईल. चालू वर्षी त्याच वेळेस तुम्हाला इंटरेस्ट मिळाला असेल कॅपिटलवरती तर तो इंटरेस्ट त्यामध्ये ॲड केला जाईल. अशा एंट्रीज करून आपण ते काय करणार आहे, तर फायनल अकाउंट प्रिपेअर करणार आहे. So here today we are study how to find out the missing figures. Okay, and with the help of that working note, by preparing the working note we find out the missing figures, and then we prepare the final statements of the concern. Okay, in our next lecture we are study how to find a credit sales or closing balance of debtors and credit purchase or closing balance of creditors. Directly practical problem. Okay, thank you very much.